is one of the first lawyers to study this technology, to embrace this technology, to help this technology, so we can continue to evolve and to reach a mass adoption.
Thank you, Janot.
So, before I move on, the talk is regulating DeFi. Yes. Will the lawmakers ever catch crypto guys?
Yes, I have also a few slides.
Can the law catch the DeFi? Right?
Yeah, that's the question.
Right?
That's the question. We will see together. In the meanwhile, hi everyone. Thanks for having me here. My name is Tullio Giordano, and unfortunately I am a lawyer, but I'm trying to quit. As you can see, I will throw away also the shirt before the end of the year. Anyway, where I have to?
Yeah? You good?
Okay. I have been around in the Italian Ethereum environment for a while, but for who doesn't know me, I am a lawyer. I have been a criminal lawyer, passionate about technology. And so when the beginning with the ICO of Ethereum, but probably before with the Bitcoin white paper, I started to study this environment and the legal aspect. I did also some other things, data protection, anti-money laundering, unfortunately, but as a criminal lawyer, it was my destiny. But today I'm here just as a researcher and observer of this world. What I would talk about, the playful tagline says, will ever lawmakers catch crypto boys, no? It is a reference of the cat and mouse's dystopic world in which police always try to chase bad actors, but sometimes they catch not the bad actors, but just normal people like us. And what is happened in the last 5 years, 6 years, they started to focus on this world. And while this world is distributed and decentralized, so it's very difficult to put in the target every users, they try to find the gatekeeper, the centralized point governing this environment. So at the very beginning, they focused on the crypto asset service provider, the provider of services. It's very simple to put them in the edge, asking them to apply for a license like a traditional financial platform, do quarterly report about their users, and make KYC obligation on the platform, and report any suspicious transaction. It was very simple. And if in the beginning some checks, centralized exchange, refused to answer to this pressure, at the very end with regulatory pressure and criminal investigation, we can think about Binance in US obliged to pay 4 billion of sanction because they did not implement the KYC, or Kraken put in the edge because of his staking program. And so they regulated the environment of platform. But it was not enough for them. And so they moved their attention to the stablecoins. Stablecoins are the fuel, the innovation of DeFi. And while in the beginning it was easier to program, issue, and govern a stablecoin, we can think about not only USDT, but also MakerDAO, for example. Now it's quite impossible. It's quite impossible because if you want to issue a stablecoin, you have to acquire a banking license or a payment institution license. you have to deposit the collateral in a real bank, and you have to put backdoor code into your code in order to allow authorities to check transaction, block transaction, freeze funds, and so on. Also, for what interests us as builders or passionate of DeFi, they completely banned the algorithmic stablecoin. So, for example, in Europe, a stablecoin like DAI is not allowed because it's not collateralized by fiat money. What remains out of scope? Probably the token, but also the token in a world where you can type some text on the keyboards and issue with very simple effort a token. Even if you want to issue a token, you have to go through the regulatory scrutiny. So it is not important if your token is a security, an utility, a payment token, but also a meme coin or a useless token, a governance token. In every part of the world, we find a regulation, and the worst thing is that these regulations are different. So maybe, you can issue a token abroad out of Europe, but you cannot provide this token to European citizens. Or otherwise, you can face the delisting on the centralized exchange. And also, as a platform, think about Uniswap, you can be forced to delist some tokens at least on the user web interfaces, and so not on the liquidity pool with smart contract, but over the internet. But this environment is facing a new challenge, because for regulators it's not enough to put in the edge and regulate the centralized aspect of the crypto asset environment. Now they are focusing also on the decentralized aspect. For example, if a DeFi project has a sort of centralized point of failure, that will be the focus and the target of the regulators. We can think about, for example, Tornado Cash. They put in the angle the developers of Tornado Cash with an indictment related to the web interfaces. They cannot ban the code, and let me specify something about it. The code of Tornado Cash was public on GitHub. GitHub is a public repository for software code. On GitHub we can find the code of every malware in the world, every virus, informatic virus in the world. Even the worst, even the one can cause incident all over the world. Nobody never asked for the ban of that code. When they put the code of Tornado Cash, so of a mixer, they asked to GitHub also, they imposed to GitHub to limit the access to that code. When they understood that they cannot limit a smart contract deployed on the net, they started to accuse the front-end developers, so who write the code of the internet pages where you can enter in contact with the smart contracts. Is a story of this week, because Roman, the second main developers with Alex Percev, is under scrutiny and under juridical procedure in US. They are accusing him of conspiracy in money laundering. So they say, okay, you were developing a website used by Lazarus Group, and you help them to do what they wanted to do, and you have a gain from that because you receive the token as a commission fee. Then they turned their attention on nodes and validators. Again, after Tornado Cash, OFAC asked to all the main validators of Ethereum to not process, to not validate that blocks, including transaction coming from Tornado Cash. This was another hit to the democracy and the freedom of distributed ledger technology, because if validators start to not validate transaction, Ethereum is not useful anymore. But after a first attention, now the things are going back regularly in the usual manner. But also they start to put in the focus the issuer, the sellers, the developers. The first time I speak at Spaghetti, the first year Spaghetti ETH, I was speaking about the liability of developers, and most of the developers at that event answered me, we don't care about it because we are a team, we are anonymous, we are decentralized. The story of Percev, of Roman Snow, demonstrate that there is no anonymity or pseudonymity in this world, even because my theory is that from anonymity and privacy, one of the two most important aspects of crypto asset, we are moving very fast towards on-chain clarity. You cannot do a transaction that everyone in the world can see it, can dox you, can know who you are. This for three reasons. The first one is the tech development. In 5 years, we are testimonies of the large development for asset tracing software, on-chain investigation, and so on. Think about chain analysis, crystal intelligence, global ledger, dozens of these companies all over the world running investigation on the blockchain. The second force is the regulatory pressure. We had the MiCA, we had the AML directive, we have the travel of fund directive, we have DLT pilot regime. You cannot do anything without the regulators put you in the focus. The third and most incredible force is a phenomenon raised this year. I call it collaborative justice or community-driven justice. And it's the case of the Bybit hack or Arkham Intelligence platform. So a platform where you can ask for intelligence, placing a bounty, promising a bounty, and let the community do the investigation for you. With these three forces converging against the anonymity and the privacy, everyone is under attack. I already speak you about the Tornado Cash, but this is important even because the community started to create anticorps, so defense by itself. What they do, they changed the code from Tornado Cash to privacy pools. Privacy pools is a sort of mixer 2.0 where the user can isolate the bad actors, leaving them alone into the pool and allowing authority to identify them. But the real question is, all this effort by regulators, it will have fortune or not? Because it's possible to control what is unstoppable, really decentralized, really distributed, really pseudonymous. I am quite old, older than more than you, and I have been around for a while. When I started in early 20s, the focus was on MP3 and peer-to-peer technology. Now is quite unused because it's not anymore helpful. But at the very beginning, we had Napster. Napster was a peer-to-peer software, but it has some aspect centralized. And the US authority reached their goal, stopping the centralized nodes and point of that software. Almost a couple of months after the stop of Napster, developers created OpenNap, an open source algorithm, fully decentralized and not stoppable. OpenNap is still working. It is at the basis of BitTorrent or other peer-to-peer software. So probably the answer to this question and the defense against this risk is to remain the more decentralized you can, because it's impossible to go through decentralization against every node, every peer of the network. You cannot ban open source. In US, one of the most important war that the guys are conducting against the authority is the freedom of speech. Write code is just freedom of expression. I write code, then I'm not liable for what people do with that code. As same as if I create knife, I'm not liable for what people do with that knife, or if I ruin highways, it's not my fault if people ruin a lot and do incident on the street. And also, you can ban the repo and not the idea. The Tornado Cash ban is a clear example, no? They tried to stop some addresses hosting the deployed smart contract. You can just bring the code and deploy on another address and start again with the function they wanted to stop. So my call to action is that the fight for freedom is still open, and probably we have to work for an environment where regulated DeFi and shadow DeFi or unregulated DeFi can coexist. Most probably, who will choose the unregulated trail cannot bring back its funds on the regulated one, but you can be free to live out of the regulation aspect of this war. Thank you. I'm open to discussion or answer, and see you around. Enjoy this beautiful venue.
Thank you very much, Marco.